Hello, my name is Kim Kyung-ja. Please hear me out. What happened to me was beyond absurd. We had just finished my husband's 3-day funeral. I never imagined the man I lived with for 50 years would leave so suddenly. After the burial, as we brought the small box of ashes back down the mountain, I couldn't tell if I was dreaming or awake. Everything was blurry like fog. Even my ears felt plugged. At the funeral hall, I had no mind left to think. My son, Han-soo, did his duty as the chief mourner, and to my eyes he looked only pitiful. My daughter-in-law, Lee Seo-eun, clung to me, crying until her voice broke. "Father, oh father." She wept so bitterly I worried she might collapse. The mourners kept saying you wouldn't find a daughter-in-law like her anywhere. Back then I thought, my husband treated her so well. She must be crying because she loved him deeply. In a way, I was grateful. She felt like a stand-in for my grief. But when everything ended and we returned to the empty house, a gigantic wave of sorrow crashed over me. His shoes by the front door, the magnifying glasses on his study desk, our toothbrushes hanging side by side in the bathroom. Everything was as it had been, and the fact that he wasn't here felt like my flesh was being torn. I'm 74. Perhaps it's natural to send off a husband at this age, but when it actually happened, the world went dark. All I could think was, when I wake up tomorrow, how am I supposed to endure this silence? Hanso held my hand and said, "Mother, come stay with us." "You can't be alone, Seo-eun." Eyes swollen nodded. "No, why should I be a burden? I'll be fine alone. You should go back to your lives. Your father would want that." I forced them to leave. This grief was mine to carry. In this house full of his traces, I had to accept the farewell slowly, very slowly. Night fell, but I couldn't sleep. I sat blankly on the sofa, staring at our black and white wedding photo on the wall. 50 years ago. He looked shy, handsome, old-fashioned. We were opposites. My temper was fiery and my voice loud. He was quiet, deep as water. Maybe that's why we managed 50 years together, fighting and staying. After a long while, I stood. I couldn't keep sitting there in a daze. That's not my nature. I had to do something. All right, let's go through his belongings. I'll send him off with my own hands. I opened the wardrobe in our bedroom. His scent rushed out. Old paper and a faint bar soap smell mixed together, the scent I loved. Neatly folded sweaters, suits hanging in a row. How am I going to deal with all this? I sighed and began to take things out. Then I noticed an old hiking jacket hanging in one corner, an olive-colored jacket he cherished. It's light and warm, perfect for the mountains, he used to say. The instant I saw it, my heart dropped. They said he collapsed from a sudden heart attack while hiking that day. The paramedics found him wearing that jacket. As if bewitched, I took it down and held it to my chest. I could almost feel his warmth in it. I fought back tears. Not now. Just then, I felt a bulge in the inside pocket. He always kept important things in that inner pocket, his wallet, his phone. What could it be? I unzipped it and reached in. My fingers touched something hard and metallic. A hiking lighter? A small flashlight? I pulled it out and set it on my palm, and I doubted my eyes. A lipstick. Bright, blood red. I've never used anything like that in my life. Some fancy foreign brand in a gold case, garish and flashy. Completely out of place in that worn jacket. Why? My hands trembled. My mind went blank. My husband was not a man who would buy such a thing. Even if he were to gift me a lipstick, he'd never choose that color. At 74, my dressing table holds pale pinks, maybe a soft coral at most. I twisted the tube up to the end, a vivid, bold red like fresh blood, the kind only young women tend to wear. And at that moment, one face flashed through my mind. My daughter-in-law, Lee Seo-eun. That was her shade. Her face at the funeral came back to me. wailing as if to faint. Mother, father, that dutiful face everyone praised. But why? Why was her lipstick in my husband's jacket, in his deepest inside pocket? My heart plunged into ice water. Was it betrayal by the man I had lived with for 50 years, or suspicion toward my daughter-in-law? The suffocating reality was that I had to doubt both at once. What on earth? What is this? I clenched the lipstick in my fist. The grief of losing my husband vanished. My mind snapped coldly awake. The way my daughter-in-law had wept now looked like good acting. I didn't put the lipstick back. I hid it deep in my drawer where no one would find it. I may be 74, but I wasn't going to sit and cry. I would find out with my own hands why that red lipstick was there and what it had to do with his death. I didn't sleep a wink. The lipstick in my drawer glowed in the dark like a snake's eye. My grief hardened into sharp suspicion and anger. What did you do to my family? Day broke, but to me, it was still midnight. Around lunch, the doorbell rang shrilly. It was my son and daughter-in-law. As soon as I opened the door, she took my arm with exaggerated care. Mother, are you all right? We were so worried. We shouldn't have left you alone. Her over-eager affection after finding that lipstick made my skin crawl. Mother, should we just stay here with you? We can't stand the thought of you being alone, she said. Hansu chimed in. She's right. We'll take care of you. Or at least come stay at our place for a few days. I pulled my arm away. Their excessive kindness now felt nauseating. No, I'm fine alone. You go back to your lives. How long will you keep playing chief mourner? Mother, and you stop crying. You've cried enough to send him off. The living must live. My voice must have sharpened. She flinched, then scurried to the kitchen. At least eat something, Mother. I'll heat some porridge. No, I have no appetite. Just a spoonful, please. If you collapse, what will we do? She set the table anyway. Hansu sat across from me. I lifted my spoon, but everything tasted like dust. I stirred the porridge and looked at her face. The swelling around her eyes had gone down, but her gaze kept flickering. When she met my eyes, she quickly looked down. Then I noticed her lips. Not exactly the same shade, but she was wearing makeup again already, before her bereaved mother-in-law. It looked strange. I set my spoon down. I decided to throw a stone and see where it landed. By the way, dear. She looked up, startled. Yes, Mother? I held her gaze and asked slowly as if it were nothing. Did you happen to lose a lipstick? Clang. The spoon slipped from her hand into the bowl. The color drained from her face. Mother, why do you ask? She stammered, eyes trembling, glancing between me and my son. That was when Hansu barked. Mother, what are you talking about? I turned to him. It wasn't her reaction that shocked me. It was his. If my son knew nothing, he should have said lipstick. What do you mean? Confusion would be normal. But he wasn't confused. He was angry, defensive, as if I had touched a forbidden nerve. Why are you yelling? Did I say something wrong? I just asked if something was lost. Are you accusing us? Father just passed and... Mother, I'm disappointed. Accusing? I mentioned a lipstick. Why are you so angry? At my cool question, he fell silent. Then my daughter-in-law burst into tears. Mother, what did I do so wrong? Since Father passed, I've been out of my mind. I can't even remember if I lost a lipstick or not. Hansu rubbed her back, glaring at me. Please stop, Mother. Why are you doing this to her? I said nothing more. I had my answer. Both of them knew something. Something they were desperate to hide. That night they left. Uncomfortable. Watching my son's back as he left, I wondered if he was the same son I had raised. Alone again, I went straight to the bedroom and opened the drawer. The red lipstick was still there, cold as ever. This wasn't enough. I needed to know why they reacted so violently. I searched for my husband's phone. When the police returned his belongings, it was in the bag. Now it lay on his desk. I turned it on. Our anniversary photo as the wallpaper, the two of us smiling. My eyes burned. What happened, dear? My hands shook as I unlocked it. Thankfully, the passcode was still our anniversary. I checked the call log. Nothing. Completely empty. Messages? Empty. Not a single text. Nothing from Hansu. Nothing from her. Not even my own. I'll be late. I opened his messenger apps. Every chat room left. History's wiped. This wasn't normal. He never deleted anything. He didn't even know how. He always got warnings about full storage. There's no way he did this. Someone erased it all after he died. Who? Why? To hide what? I thought of the lipstick, the wiped phone. Goosebumps rose. They weren't covering a simple mistake. They were hiding something terrifying, tied directly to my husband's death. I didn't sleep. Without the phone records, I felt lost. But I wouldn't give up. I needed something they couldn't erase. At first light, I went to his study. Yesterday, I'd come to look for clues. Today, I entered like a soldier going to war. Everything was tidy as always, a reflection of his diligent nature. Old books lined the shelves, a fountain pen on the desk, his magnifying glasses. I opened each drawer. Ledgers, receipts, half-used pens. Number. There must be something. I pulled out every book, checked between pages, behind covers. Nothing. After more than an hour of turning the study upside down, I slumped into his chair. My eyes landed on a landscape painting he loved. Something was off. It was tilted slightly to the right. He was meticulous. He would never leave a frame crooked. As if in a trance, I lifted it. Behind it, dusty wallpaper, and in the center, exactly what I'd been searching for, a small home safe. A secret stash? I gave a bitter smile, then my face hardened. He had never told me about this. The safe took a key, not a code. I searched everywhere for a small key. Nothing. I stood there, stunned. My phone rang. Hansu. Mother, did you eat? I'm sorry about yesterday. I was out of sorts and upset you. His voice sounded gentle, but I knew better. Enough. If you're busy, hang up. No, Mother. Seo-on and I will stop by tonight with your favorite sashimi. I said no. I'm busy. Busy? With what? I hesitated, then decided to test him. I'm tidying your father's study. Found a small safe in the wall, but there's no key. A safe. A safe? He cut me off, suddenly frantic. I didn't miss it. I can't open it. Should I call someone? Mother, wait. Don't call anyone. I know a guy. I'll come right now. Don't touch it. Why so worked up? It must be company papers. Please, Mother, don't let anyone open it until I get there. He hung up before I could answer. I stared at the cold phone and let out a short, bitter laugh. Got you, Hansu. He knew about the safe and was terrified I'd open it. I called the oldest, shabbiest locksmith in the neighborhood, the one I'd known for decades. Can you come now? I lost the key to a safe. He arrived in under half an hour, an elderly man with skilled hands. Old model? I can try. Might take a while. I gave him hot tea and paced by the door, afraid Hansu would show up. Please, hurry. A cheerful click sounded from the study. All done, ma'am. I paid him generously and all but pushed him out. Then I ran to the study and opened the safe with trembling hands. Inside, emptier than I'd imagined. No love letters or gold bars, just old bank books and the house deed. Disappointed, I sifted through them. At the very bottom, I found them. A yellowed envelope. Inside, several IOUs in a familiar name, not a stranger's. They were written by my son, Kim Hansu. To my husband, 10 million won, 50 million won. The amounts were staggering. What had he done to need such loans from his father? Tucked beneath the IOUs was a business card. Min Gyum Planning. CEO Min. On the back, corporate checks, personal background, confidentiality, private investigator. My husband had hired someone. In a corner of the card, in my husband's handwriting, Lee Seo-yun, October 14th, a hotel. My daughter-in-law's name, a date, a hotel. My heart plummeted. He had been investigating not only our son, but his wife. I sank to the floor, staring between the IOUs and the card, mind racing. Hansu's huge debts, Seo-yun's hotel record, and my husband quietly investigating them. The door lock beeped loudly. Hansu! Mother! Where's the safe? He ran in without removing his shoes. I stepped out of the study calmly. The IOUs and card were already tucked deep in my apron pocket. Why so frantic? The safe? Did you open it? Did you call someone? No. I waited for you. Didn't you say you knew a guy? He visibly relaxed. Ah, good. I'll bring him tomorrow. It's late today. Dinner? No. Go home. Seo-yun is waiting. I'm tired. I need to rest. I all but pushed him out, then collapsed by the door after locking it. My legs shook. Kim Han-soo, Lee Seo-yun. What have you done? I pulled out the PI's card. I wanted to call immediately, but it was late. I stayed awake all night. At dawn, I dialed the number. A curt, gruff voice answered. Mingum Planning. I swallowed. I'm the wife of Mr. Kim, who passed away recently. Silence. I used Mr. Kim as a pseudonym, not wanting to reveal too much. Yes, ma'am. What can I do for you? He sounded wary, as people in his line of work do. I found your card in my husband's study. It looks like he hired you before he died. I'm afraid that's confidential. I understand. But the client is deceased, and I'm his next of kin. I need to know why my husband died. You might know. He sighed. Did you receive a report? Report? We were supposed to deliver the final report the day before he passed. Then that happened. So, you have it? Let's meet in person. This isn't a phone conversation. He chose a noisy downtown cafe, not his office. Testing me, perhaps. I arrived 30 minutes early. At the appointed time, a tired, middle-aged man in a worn coat approached. Not a glamorous movie detective, just a man weathered by life. He was CEO minister. You're Mr. Kim's wife? Yes. I'm Kim Kyung-ja. I showed my ID and family registry. He relaxed. I didn't expect him to pass so suddenly. He was a good man. Let's get to the point. What did my husband hire you for? He hesitated, then pulled a yellow envelope from his bag. This is the final report we intended to deliver that day. Steel yourself before reading. What is it? At first, he asked us to investigate your son, Mr. Kim Han-soo. He suspected debts and wanted to know where the money was going. The IOUs, of course. But during the investigation, something strange appeared. Strange? Your son's debts were actually being paid by your daughter-in-law, Ms. Lee Seo-yun. Large sums. At first, they thought she was extraordinary. But the source of her money was odd. She couldn't have that kind of money legitimately, so your husband changed the target from your son to your daughter-in-law. I opened the envelope with shaking hands. Dozens of photos spilled out. First, Seo-yun, stepping out of the passenger seat of a foreign sports car, smiling brightly. Second, her arm in arm with the driver, entering a fancy restaurant. Third, fourth, fifth. I couldn't breathe. The last was the entrance of a hotel, the one written on the card. She and the man disappeared inside together. The date? October 14th, a few days before my husband died. Who is he? A loan shark. On paper, an investment consultant, but he's a bad one. He was also the first person your son borrowed from. So, my daughter-in-law. Because of my son's debt, I couldn't finish. Min shook his head. We thought so too at first. that she did what she had to do to pay his debt. But look at the back. The following documents were bank statements. She was receiving money from the loan shark, regular payments larger than what she paid toward my son's debt. What is this? She wasn't paying off your son's debt out of sacrifice. She was colluding with the loan shark, using your son as a pretext to siphon your husband's fortune. They've been lovers for some time. And my son? I begged silently that my son was only a fool, not a monster. He crushed that hope. The IOUs are the tip of the iceberg. Look here. Kim Hansu activity log. His business, ruined a year ago. He told you it was doing well and asked for more investment? All fabricated. These financial statements he showed you, we compared them with the originals we obtained. Forgeries. A red forged stamp glared on the copies. He borrowed against the dead business as collateral and blew the money on illegal online gambling. The word gambling hammered my chest. My husband despised gambling. No, not my Hansu. He couldn't. He started small. When the business failed, he raised the stakes to win it back, and the debt snowballed. Unable to cope, he turned to the loan shark, your daughter-in-law's lover. The puzzle snapped into place. My son drowning in gambling debt. My daughter-in-law playing both sides with the loan shark, the three of them realizing it would be faster to swallow the entire family fortune than pay debts. So, Hansu knew about the affair? Likely. Perhaps he was part of the scheme from the start. We found transfers from the lover to your daughter-in-law, then to your son, money that flowed out again to gambling. I remembered Hansu's anger when I mentioned the lipstick. Not shock or confusion, panic that the truth might slip out. My son wasn't just a foolish victim. He was a man who turned a blind eye to his wife's infidelity and even colluded with her and her lover to target his parents' wealth. The betrayal devoured me more than grief. How could my own child... I clenched my teeth. No tears. Before a horror like this, tears felt like a luxury. Only one thought burned cold and clear. Revenge. I slid a blank check across to Minister. Is this enough? Your husband already compensated me well. This is a new job. Mine. I sipped cold coffee. Watch them. All three. Lee Seo-un, Kim Hansu, the loan shark. Who they meet, what they say, everything. Miss nothing. And one more thing. The most important, I forced the worst request out of my mouth. Gather every CCTV from the mountain trail entrance the day he died. I need to know if any of those three were with him. He held my gaze, then nodded. Understood. I left his office and walked home. The sun was high, but it was night to me. The next few days were hell. I had to play the grieving, oblivious widow while carrying the truth. It was the hardest, most disgusting performance of my life. My son and his wife visited constantly. Mother, did you eat? We brought dried yellow corvina. Your favorite. Don't worry, we'll take care of you. Twice as much since Father's gone. Their faces made me nauseous. Every time I saw the corvina, I remembered the red of her lips on the CCTV and wanted to retch. I wanted to grab them by the throat and scream, "You murdered my husband!" But not yet. No, I have no appetite. Thank you, but I need to be alone. They must have smiled at each other outside my door. The old woman is finally breaking. Soon the house and money are ours. Their arrogance would be my greatest weapon. 3 days later, Min called. We have it. Can you come? My heart hit the floor. Here it comes, I thought. This time we met at his office, a dim room stacked with dusty files. Tea. Just show me. He turned the monitor toward me. This is the mountain entrance CCTV from that morning. The date and time stamped in the corner. The day he died. There was my husband in the olive jacket, the one that held the lipstick. He wasn't alone. Beside him was my daughter-in-law. I stopped breathing. My blood turned cold. She had told me at the funeral while wailing that if she had been with father that day, she would have given him his medicine, that she was at home with me. A bright scarlet lie. On the video, they were arguing fiercely. No audio, but his face was twisted with anger. She flailed her arms, yelling. He tried to brush past her and go back down the mountain. She blocked him and pulled something from her bag, thrusting it at his face, likely a property waiver or a blank power of attorney. He pushed it away without even looking. Then he staggered. He clutched his chest, his heart. He collapsed. He reached toward her, asking for his pills, begging for help. She didn't move. She just stood there, looking down at him. No, she moved. She looked around, left, right, to see if anyone else was there. No one. She stood and watched as he struggled for breath, and I saw it clearly on the second camera angle Min pulled up, a faint, satisfied smile at the corner of her mouth. My husband, using his last strength, lunged at her shoulder bag and ripped it open. She screamed and tried to yank it back, but he had already grabbed something, the red lipstick. He clenched it, and when she tried to snatch it away, he jammed it into his jacket's inner pocket. She froze. She couldn't very well rummage through a dying old man's pockets. She looked around again. No one. Then she left him there, walked down the mountain as if nothing had happened. I covered my mouth to stifle a scream. This was intentional homicide by neglect. That red lipstick wasn't a trophy of betrayal. It was my husband's dying message. It's her. Lee Seo-eun. Are you all right, ma'am? Min's voice sounded far away. I pointed at the screen with a trembling hand. What did they do? To me? Calm yourself. She called the loan shark as soon as she got down the mountain. We don't have the audio, but it's clear. They wanted him to die. Or rather, they made it happen. He showed me another document. They tried to force him to sign a property waiver. When he refused, they used his heart condition against him. I cursed myself for telling her everything in the past. Your father-in-law has a weak heart. Don't startle him. Always bring his medication when he hikes. She knew it all. Knew the surest way to kill him. I don't remember how I left Min's office. In my hand was a USB with the CCTV and the report. It felt as heavy as 1,000 pounds. I was no longer a grieving widow. I was an executor of my husband's last message. At home, I sat like a corpse for hours, my husband's portrait watching over me. I made a vow. I could go to the police immediately. The evidence would have her arrested, but that wasn't enough. They would hire expensive lawyers and claim there was no intent, that she panicked, that he provoked her. They would say the lipstick was nothing, that he had grabbed her bag. Number. I would make them confess with their own mouths, using the greed that drove them. The law could judge them after. Before that, I would drag them into hell with my own hands. For 2 days I did nothing, ignoring their calls, making them frantic, wondering if the old woman had finally collapsed. The more they wished for my death, the sweeter the trap. On the 3rd morning, I called Hansu, my voice frail, like I might stop breathing any second. Hansu, it's me. Mother, what's wrong? Are you sick? I heard him gulp, not sorrow, but excitement. No, I have no strength. I haven't eaten or slept. I might follow your father soon. Don't say that, Mother. We'll come right now. No, don't come. Before I lose my mind completely, I should put things in order. In order? His voice trembled. The estate. I'll rewrite my will. I should gift you and Seo-eun the commercial building in Gangnam and the land in Pocheon now. Taxes are complicated after death. Silence, imagining him exchanging looks with her. Mother, we never did anything to expect that, but if that's what you want, hooked. Then tomorrow, bring Seo-eun. We'll meet at the lawyer's office. Bring your seals. Yes, Mother, of course. What time? There's one condition. Condition? His voice sharpened, thinking I'd demand something big. Not a condition, just a favor. About the safe. You didn't come. So I called someone and opened it. Nothing much. Just bank books and the deed. But I paused, then tossed in the bait. Your father had some debts. Debts? Father? Impossible. That's what I thought. But there are a few I owe U.S. in a stranger's name. They were his IOUs. I presented them as if they belonged to someone else. I need them settled before I pass anything on. Could you handle that? I want you to inherit cleanly. Don't worry, Mother. How much is it? I heard her whisper in the background. How much? Ask how much. About 200 million, one. Silence. Calculations clicking away. Pay 200 million to receive assets worth billions. Don't worry, Mother. We'll take care of it. Good. Bring the money tomorrow. The original IOUs are with the lawyer. We'll verify repayment and then stamp the papers. Yes, Mother. See you tomorrow. I straightened up, my back suddenly strong. To get that money, they'd run to their only lifeline, the loan shark. Lend us 200 million. We'll be billionaires by tomorrow. Let them dig their own grave. I took out the red lipstick. Honey, are you watching? It starts now. I told Hansu that bank paperwork might delay the inheritance signing and that he should wait at the bank. Then I called her separately, a weary, grieving mother again. Dear, it's me. Hansu is busy at the bank. I'd like to speak woman to woman. Could you come by? She must have thought I had a special gift just for her. She arrived in under 30 minutes, face bright with expectation, though she quickly put on a sorrowful mask for me. Mother, what is it? Bank paperwork? She probed, trying to gauge me. I placed a teacup in front of her. Have some tea. Silence stretched. I watched her hands shake slightly as she lifted the cup. Good. I stood, went to my bedroom drawer, and returned with it the red lipstick, my husband's last breath sealed inside. I set it on the table in front of her with a small, crisp tap that echoed through the room. Her eyes flew to it. The blood drained from her face. Her perfect morning expression collapsed into sheer terror. She recoiled as if she'd seen a living viper. Mother, how is that? She couldn't form a sentence. I stared through her. This came from your father-in-law's jacket. I know you were there that day. She collapsed to the floor, crawling to me, grabbing my legs, begging. I let her tremble, then placed a hand on her shoulder. She flinched like my touch burned. I put on a face of limitless mercy. Don't cry, dear. I understand. She blinked, confused. I bent to her ear and whispered the script I had prepared. That loan shark, he threatened you, didn't he? Her pupils darted. The clever beast realized I was giving her an exit. Because of Hansu's gambling debt, he tormented you. He made you go with father that day and demand money. You had no choice, right? I recast her as a victim. She understood perfectly and resumed acting. Now her tears were of injustice. Yes, Mother. He said if I told father, he'd give us money. If not, he'd cut off Hansu's hand. I was so scared. I suppressed my disgust and squeezed her hands, face saintly. I knew it. You suffered because of my foolish son. Father collapsed because that man pushed you. None of this is your fault. She melted, sobbing in relief. But this can't go on. We can't let that man ruin both your life and Hansu's. What should I do? I'm terrified of him, Mother. Meet him one last time. She stared. Again? I'll give you money. I took out my checkbook, the last of it, to shut his mouth. Take it and tell him, this is it. Never appear before our family again. Settle it, once and for all. Even through tears, her eyes glittered with greed. To her, I must have looked like a senile old fool, ready to throw money into her lover's hands. Mother, can I do it? You can. You're my daughter-in-law, the guardian of this family, right? I flattered her into compliance. She gripped my hands. Yes, Mother, I'll do it. Thank you. Choose the place where he'll feel safest. I trust you. She thought she had everything under control. She called him immediately and booked a private room at a fancy Korean restaurant, their usual hideout. Mother, tomorrow at 7 p.m.? Good. Then it ends. She left smiling, unaware of what I meant. I phoned Minister. Tomorrow, 7 p.m., Mo's Korean restaurant, plum room. Don't worry, ma'am. A mouse's breathing will be recorded. The day arrived. I told Hansu that the bank delayed the inheritance signing to the day after tomorrow. Keep the 200 million ready. He was anxious but didn't doubt me. At 6 p.m., I dressed carefully in my finest black suit and had my hair done. Tonight, I would deliver the first judgment for my husband. I would not look small. Min wanted me to stay somewhere safe and just receive the report. I refused. No, I will hear it with my own ears. The plum room was the most secluded, soundproofed room, perfect for dirty secrets. With Min's help, I sat alone in the orchid room next door, wearing a tiny flesh-colored receiver hidden by my hair. Min's team monitored everything from a van. Can you hear me? Yes? At exactly 7 p.m., high heels clicked down the hall, light, excited steps. Seo-un entered the room. Soon after, heavy shoes. The loan shark. The door closed. My heart was strangely calm. Baby? Her first word. No trace of the funeral wail. Just a sly, crow-like chuckle, and then the wet sound of a kiss. I gripped my teacup until it nearly shattered. Wow, you look gorgeous tonight, he said. Not meeting the old hag, meeting you. Don't even start. You should have seen her face. I cried. I'm scared, Mother. That man is threatening me. And she said, You've suffered so much, and handed me this. Paper rustled, the envelope I'd given her, my husband's hard-earned money. Unbelievable. A clueless old crone giving her daughter-in-law money to go see her lover. Senile? Or just stupid? He laughed. Maybe both. Since the old man died, she's completely lost it. She believes whatever I say. I wish you saw how I played her. Hilarious. That old woman has no idea she's being toyed with. I bit my lip until I tasted blood. Mock us all you like. Their arrogance would choke them soon enough. But here's the real jackpot. She lowered her voice. More than money? About the old man's death. Are we clear? No backlash. My heart nearly stopped. Relax, she said, voice like an ice pick to my ear. I swapped his hot pills with vitamins days in advance. What? You switched his meds? Of course. The night before the hike, I made him argue with Hansu to raise his blood pressure. I saw his neck veins pop. Then I dragged him up the mountain without pills and wound him up. Are you going to pay Hansu's debts? You must. I shoved the property waiver in his face. He refused and foamed at the mouth and fell. Perfect. The only annoying thing? When he collapsed, he grabbed my bag and clutched my lipstick. A little worrisome, but what would the old fool know? He'll probably think it's proof of some affair. Idiot. They laughed. That old woman is probably digging the wrong hole, thinking her husband cheated. I couldn't listen anymore. But one last confirmation. So tomorrow, you inherit it all. What about your dumb husband? He's a liability. Don't say his name. He's just a shell. He only knows father collapsed from a heart condition. He has no idea I switched the meds. Once I get the fortune, I'll pay off his gambling debt with interest and dump him. He's not coming with us. That was enough. I rose. Perfect, Min said in my ear. We have everything. Morning came. Their inheritance day. Hansu called early, voice shaking with excitement. Mother, we have the 200 million. The lawyers at 10 a.m., right? No. No? You come to the house alone, not her. But she needs to stamp. There's one last document only you can review. Come now, I hung up. His greed would smother his doubts. In under 20 minutes, he shattered the doorbell. He was breathless, clutching a bag, the borrowed 200 million. Mother, What document? Where's CO1? I pointed to the sofa. Sit. Confused, he sat. I placed a small digital recorder on the table. What's that? Your wife's voice. Her conversation with her lover last night. Mother, don't joke. He stood. Sit. My voice cut like a knife. He sank back down. I pressed play. Her crow laugh filled the room, then the kiss. His face went white. The old hag gave me money. I'm scared, Mother, and she handed me this. His pupils shook. I didn't stop. He's dead for sure? No backlash? Relax. I made sure he didn't take his meds and wound him up on the mountain. His mouth opened. He couldn't believe his ears. He grabbed my lipstick, but what would he know? Terror dawned. He finally understood this was a conspiracy to kill his father. He tried to run. I had one last part for him to hear. Kim Hansu is just a shell. Once I get the money, I'll pay his debt and dump him. He froze. He turned to me, not seeing me, but his own ruin. No, no. He lunged to smash the recorder. It's fake. A setup. Mother. I didn't dodge. I stared coldly. Fake? She wouldn't. Then how about this? I pulled out the other device, the small recorder from the safe. I pressed play. My husband's voice. Desperate, sorrowful. Hansu, please stop. How could you touch your mother's account? He crumpled to the floor, wailing like a child. Not for his father, or for guilt, but for himself, betrayed by the wife who used him. I let him cry until he panted. Then I stood over him. Get up! Mother, I'm sorry. Please. He tried to grab my legs. Don't touch me. I kicked his hand away. I said stand. He obeyed. Do you want to live? Yes. Please. You have one chance. I tossed a blank sheet and a pen before him. Write everything. The embezzlement from your father's company. The collusion with your wife and her lover. How you threatened your father. All of it. If I write this, I'll go to prison. Right. If I do, will you? Your personal gambling debt, I'll pay it. But the fraud, the embezzlement, you'll pay for that in prison. Choose. I stared into his eyes. 30 years with her as an accomplice, or confess now and get 3. He had no choice. He picked up the pen with trembling hands. I'll write. Dawn of judgment. I hadn't slept, but I felt clear. I put on a deep navy suit, his favorite, on me. You look most dignified in that, he used to say. Today I had to be the strongest, most dignified version of myself. I placed the red lipstick in my bag, the beginning and the end of this revenge. Today, I whispered to his portrait, I'll drag those beasts who trampled us into hell. Watch from above. The meeting place was not a law office, but a large conference room in a quiet office Tel Min had arranged. Blinds drawn, a long table, a few chairs. Min sat at one side as asset manager/legal representative, a laptop open. First to arrive. My son, a living corpse. After his confession and learning of his wife's betrayal, he was broken, pale, hollow-eyed, clutching the stack of pages he'd written by hand. Sit, I said. He couldn't meet my eyes. Next came my daughter-in-law, his opposite. She glowed head to toe in a white dress, a brand-new handbag, likely bought with my money. Her makeup was meticulous. Her red lips gleamed. She spotted my son, slumped in the corner, and curled her lip in disgust. Hello, Mother. Hello, Mr. Min. Hansu, what's with your face? Are you sick? Big day. Don't ruin it. She thought his condition came from running around to borrow money. Or perhaps she was just happy to be rid of him soon. It'll be over soon. Yes, Mother. So, the documents. The last guest arrived. The loan shark, swaggering in an expensive suit, hair slicked with oil. I've heard so much about you, ma'am, he said with a greasy grin at her. And your son. Did you secure the 200 million? Hansu stared at the floor. Mother, this is father's creditor, she explained quickly. Brought 200 million today. No, I cut in. He's your lover and the keeper of my son's gambling debt. Isn't that right, Mr. Loan Shark? Their faces froze. Let's all sit, I said. This will be a long meeting. I sat at the head. Min on my right, Hansu on my left. Across from us, she and the Loan Shark. Shall we begin? Today was supposed to be about inheritance. I laid a thick fake stack of inheritance documents on the table. Her eyes locked on them. Before we stamp anything, we have a few things to clear. I looked at my son. Give me what you wrote. With shaking hands, he slid the confession to me. Their eyes followed the pages. What's that? She snapped. Hansu, what did you write? You'll find out, I said. But first, we need to listen to something. Right, Mr. Min? He nodded and turned his laptop volume to maximum. He pressed play. Her crow laugh filled the room. She went white. The Loan Shark jerked to his feet. What is that? Sit. The best part. Hasn't started, I let it run. The old hag gave me money. I'm scared, Mother, and she handed me this. Senile. Or stupid. She couldn't breathe. Then the crucial line. Relax. I made sure he didn't take his meds and wound him up on the mountain. Turn it off! Turn it off! She screamed, lunging for the laptop. Min caught her and threw her back into her chair. The recording continued. He grabbed my lipstick, but what would he know? Hansu's just a shell. Once I get the money, I'll pay his debt and dump him, idiot. Silence. She panted on the floor. The Loan Shark flushed and inched toward the door. My son shut his eyes. So, she croaked, looking up at me, this was a trap. Yes, I said, a trap. She started to lunge at me again, but the door opened. Not an exit for the Loan Shark. Police in uniform and plain clothes filed in, moving with lethal calm. Ms. Lee, CON, you are under arrest for abandonment of an ascendant and conspiracy to commit fraud. No! No! She shrieked as two officers bent her arms behind her back. She fought and screamed at me. That old witch trapped me. She deceived me. I'm innocent. The Loan Shark babbled. Officer, wait. It's a misunderstanding. She made me... Chaos. Then she made one last plea. To my son. Honey, tell them. Your mother tricked us. Honey. All eyes went to Hansu. He slowly lifted his head and stared at her with hollow eyes. Shut up. Honey? Shut up, he snarled. A detective stepped to him. Mr. Kim Hansu, you are also under arrest for occupational embezzlement, conspiracy to defraud, and coercion against your ascendant. He held up the confession. Mother, our deal. Kept, I said, rising. I'll settle your personal gambling debt. But the crimes, the company money you stole, the fraud you committed with that woman, you will pay in prison. Mother, please. He tried to crawl to me, but the police held him. All three wore handcuffs now. She still glared at me, eyes full of hate. Who do you think you are, you old... I walked to her and took the red lipstick from my pocket. I'm the stupid old woman you underestimated. I opened the cap and held that vivid red up to her eyes. This is your father-in-law's last will to me, the proof you mocked. She finally understood. She had danced in the palm of my hand from beginning to end. Goodbye, dear. I didn't throw it at her. I dropped it into the trash can in the corner. Thunk. Trash belongs in the trash. She screamed as they dragged her out. It was over. The trial came. The recordings and CCTV were indisputable. She and the Loan Shark claimed there was no intent, but the court found otherwise. Life and 30 years. My son received 3 years for embezzlement and conspiracy, aided by his confession as mitigation. I paid off his purely personal gambling debt as promised. I never visited him in prison. He is no longer my son. I sold everything my husband and I built. Our building in Gangnam, the land in Pocheon, even this house, and donated it all in my husband's name. a foundation for heart patients and elderly victims of fraud. That was the last thing I could do for him. I have nothing now. At 74, I rent a small place in a seaside town and live alone. People might say I'm pitiful, but for the first time in 74 years, I feel free. I look out at the sea and take out his photo. Dear, it's done. I cleaned our house thoroughly. Rest easy. I am not a weeping old widow. I am the cold executor of my husband's last will. And now I am simply Kim Kyung-ja, light and unburdened.